Hey guys, Darth Deuces here, back with another action figure review. Today, taking a look at another Mcfarlane Toys follow-up figure. It is a release I was really excited for. It is their Elite Edition Fallout New Vegas NCR Veteran Ranger. I've wanted a figure of this character ever since I played the game, really. I love this design. It is, I think, without a doubt, it's my favorite kind of outfit armor design from the Fallout franchise, and just in general, it's just such an awesome design. I love the characters, I love the design, and we finally have an articulated figure of this. It only took 15 years. um, yeah, one of my most anticipated of the year since it got announced. Unfortunately, Elite Edition, so it is very expensive, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Not actually the only release of the NCR Veteran Ranger from Mcfarlane. They also included it with a two-pack with Benny. Unfortunately, they fumbled the two-pack astronomically. The Benny figure has terrible proportions. He looks like Slenderman. The Veteran Ranger in that pack has way less paint, looks a lot worse. And the pack comes with no accessories at all, which is really stupid. And it's way too expensive. So yeah, that's unfortunate. I'd like to get it still, but I gotta wait for a sale now and I can't pay full price on it. Anyways, but we're talking about the NCR Veteran Ranger from the Elite Edition. And right off the bat, taking a look at the figure without any accessory or anything, I think it looks really good. That being said, it's not fully accurate. There are some things that aren't super accurate with this, and we'll talk about those. But taking a look at the helmet, I think it's sculpted really nicely. This is without a doubt the Veteran Ranger helmet. I think the red for the lenses looks pretty good. Gray with some really nice silver highlighting on the mask. I like the little gray bit there, or green bit there for, I would assume, a flashlight on the helmet. The helmet is a nice like army green with black wash on it, which looks really nice. I can't tell. I think those rivets on there might actually... No, those aren't painted. That's just part of the weathering that's added to it. But the head sculpt, I think I have no real complaints with. It looks really good. The duster coat he's wearing also looks great. Dark brown. You've got a nice wash over it to give it that worn, leathery look, which is super cool. It is an overlay over the torso. The only thing I don't like is that it's glued onto the torso, and the torso underneath has like indents where it glues into. I wish it was just a free-floating separate piece over the torso like Marvel Legends does. It being glued makes it a bit more limiting. I don't like that too much, but otherwise not a big deal. Underneath, you've got the Riot Armor torso, gray with some nice silver highlighting to make it, again, look worn. You've got the bandolier there with the little silver buckle painted. And you've got the 08 and the Nevada Police Department logo partially printed on there. The buttons on the coat are painted as well, which is cool. The sleeves there, you've got the forearm armor, the wraps, the little pouch there strapped on, and the hands also have a lot of nice wash weather detail on it. And then the little backpack oxygen tank thingy, I think is what it is. Again, some nice silver paint for the buckles there on the straps and some nice weather detail there. Lots of nice paint on this one. Lots of nice sculpting. The texture that's sculpted onto the coat looks really good. Like I said, though, there's some inaccuracies with the coloring. The coat in general is supposed to be a lighter brown. The forearms, I think these bands are actually supposed to be white, or like a really light gray or something like that. And then the pants are supposed to be like a blue jean. They wear like a flared out like blue jean in the game anyways. But here we have, unfortunately, reused legs from, I think I heard from Constantine from DC Multiverse. But the figure I own that uses these legs would be the Todd McFarlane figure from that 2-pack from last year, which is unfortunate. It doesn't look the worst or anything like that, but they don't wear like these almost skin tight jeans. They wear much more like boot cut, spacey sort of wider jeans, and that go over the boot and whatnot. So I don't know why they sculpted literally the rest of the figures all new sculpted. I don't know why they cheaped out here and reused the legs. That's maybe my biggest complaint aside from the price. I wish they just would have sculpted a whole new set of legs for this one. But the weathering and painted detail does look really nice on this. The belts there all have their buckles painted. You've got bullets there on the holster strap, and then you do have the holster itself, which is technically a functioning holster, but isn't really. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, I mean, the inaccuracies really don't bother me. I'm just super pleased to have a figure version of the Ranger at all. And I think these colors still look really good. I feel like maybe they based the colors off of the like cover art instead of maybe the actual in-game model, which is where maybe some of the inconsistencies are happening with the colors. But I still think it looks really, really good for the most part. Articulation wise, you have a dumbbell joint in the neck there, which goes down a bit, looks up an okay amount, pretty good pivot and rotation. Shoulder joints you do have there, they go about that far. The coat does hinder some articulation. I think there's technically a butterfly in there, but you can barely move it. You can rotate about that far until the coat pretty much stops you from being able to move. I wish this was a bit of a slightly softer material, but I don't really know. Aside from that, I'm not really sure how else you would really do that to get any more articulation. Double hinges at the elbows move pretty good. And then you have your universal Mcfarlane joints at the wrists, which are nice and actually can get a pretty decent hinging down on the wrists, which is good. Torso there's a waist joint there for rotation. There is actually an upper diaphragm cut too, and you actually get a pretty decent crunch. You don't see like many other figures from other domestic companies that can get a crunch that's that good. So that's actually kind of surprising. So you can get a decent crunch there. Hip joints, you can move them about that far. The does have the plastic overlay groin piece, which doesn't look too bad here, but it is a little noticeable. But you can kick the legs about that far. There is a bit of rotation at the upper part of the hip, which moves okay, but it's not a full swivel. Double hinges at the knees, which are very clicky. Not super pleasing aesthetically, but they do get a good range of motion. Then ankle joints, they move up, they move down. They do get rockers. There's a rotation as well, and then toe bend. So decent articulation. You can get this guy in some pretty reasonable poses. Nothing crazy. You're not going to get kneeling poses. You can't really get him in two-handed rifle poses where he's looking down the sights, which is a bit unfortunate because of his weaponry. You can get close and you can maybe fake it, but you can't. It can be difficult to get it all the way, or at least get it all the way where it looks good. So that's a bit unfortunate, but it's a design, and the way the coat's designed is just a hard thing to be able to engineer, to be honest, I feel like. But yeah, not bad. Definitely not one of Mcfarlane's worst or articulated figures, definitely on the better spectrum, which is good. But now we will talk about accessories, because Elite Edition, he comes with a lot of stuff, which he should for the price point. You do get your cards, you get the scam that is Elite points, which I just got the 50 points. I've gotten 3 Elite Edition figures. I've only been able to redeem the first points that I got with the Doomslayer. I cannot redeem the other ones because the website won't take my login. I can't recover my password because it says gives me a CAPTCHA error, but doesn't actually give me a CAPTCHA to fill in. The website is terribly designed, terribly coded. Mcfarlane Toys, fix your Elite Edition site, because otherwise it's just a huge scam, more of a scam than it already is, to be honest. I really don't like the Elite Edition point system thing. It makes it just so they can crank the price up on these figures. Stop doing it. If you gotta crank up the price, include a few more accessories. You do get your card. You have one of the 2 fairly classic artworks from New Vegas that feature the Ranger, but you can kind of tell with the pants there, not with the color, but just with the design, like the style of pants, they're a lot baggier looking, where the one on the figure is not. It would have been kind of cool if the figure came with a flag for New California Republic. That would have been neat. Then on the back, you do actually have a write-up of the Rangers and what they're all about. So that's cool. Of course, also standard display base, circular display base. Does have Fallen New Vegas logo on it though, so that's fun. Then the actual accessories, you get a few sets of interchangeable hands. On the figure, you have two trigger gripping hands. You also get a pair of fists, which is nice, all with the same nice paint washes on them. And then you get a left open hand, which is good for either just dynamic posing and for two-handed poses with the larger guns, which is cool and appreciated. And then a right pointing finger. So that's pretty cool. You get some nice expressive hands. He comes with some tools, or I guess this is a weapon. This is the satchel charge, the C4 satchel charge. Painted and sculpted pretty nicely. Oops. And there's nowhere to store it on the figure, he can just kind of hold it. You get a set of binoculars, which are in a gray plastic or silver gunmetal sort of plastic, which look pretty good. It would have been nice if maybe the lenses were painted, but this is cool. You can hold them and it looks nice. It is an actual item you can have in the game, so that's cool. And then you have the combat knife, which is again sculpted well, painted well, silver blade, tannish grip with a bit of a black wash. And he doesn't come with standard just gripping hands. You have to use the trigger finger hands for this, but he does hold it pretty well. Unfortunately, nowhere to store this on the figure, although I guess maybe I'll use the, I could use the holster for it, I suppose. And you might be asking why I would use the holster for that. Well, the next weapon is the classic Ranger Sequoia. I think I'm saying that right. I might not be. But it's the giant like hand cannon revolver that the veteran Rangers use. One of my favorite guns in the whole game. I'm just, again, sucker for a gunslinger and a large big iron on his hip. Here's a nice sculpt detail of the engravings on the Sequoia. On the barrel, you have for honorable service, and then on the other side, against all tyrants. That's super cool. And you have the NCR logo etched into the grip, and then the grip is painted brown with a black wash on it. So that actually looks really cool. Unfortunately, you don't have the gold painted on in the game. The gun has the engravings are all gold. Unfortunately, they didn't do that here, but it does hold the Sequoia. Come on. Sequoia nicely. It looks really good. You might be asking, does this look too oversized? But honestly, the gun is just that big in the game. They're just massive hand cannons of revolvers that they use. I think it looks pretty cool. But like I said, there is a technically functioning holster on this figure. If I rotate just to get a better view of it here. You do have a holster. It is hollow. It is meant to have something stored in it. Obviously, it's supposed to be used for the Sequoia. But unfortunately, the holster is not big enough. I cannot fit the revolver any further down into that holster. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know how this passed like any sort of quality control testing. This holster just does not function. And the thing is, it did not have to be much bigger, but even the end of the smallest part of the gun, the barrel can't even fit in there. I don't think there's anything I can do to fix this. It's a pretty hard plastic. I don't think heating it up would really make much difference. Maybe you could, I don't think you could do anything. It just needed to be bigger. They had to sculpt this bigger. So that's really unfortunate. It would have been nice to be able to actually store at least one of his guns on him. And in fact, can't do that. Pretty annoying. But I guess you could slot this knife in there if you wanted for safekeeping, I suppose. But yeah, it is not able to do what it was designed to do. And that is a pretty big fail I'm not gonna lie, especially for Elite Edition price point, and it can't even use the holster it was given. Pretty bad, pretty bad. You do get the Ranger's other pretty iconic weapon being the anti-material rifle, the big-ass sniper rifle that they use. I like the sculpt of the stock and the grip to look like wood and then painted as such as well. Again, holds it pretty good. He holds all the weapons pretty well in the hand. I'm not going to show them all, but I'll show his classic ones. The ones that are most associated with the character. So that looks really cool. Like I said, though, it can be a decent challenge to get a proper looking pose in two hands. Let me swap the hands. Hands, luckily, actually swap out pretty easily, and not too much issue there. All right, that's actually the best I've done. So you can get him in a pretty good aiming pose. It looks not great from the side because it should be more into his shoulder. And he should be holding it a bit better in the hand. But you can actually get like a pretty close full aiming pose with it. So that's cool. We'll keep that. Whoops. Pop the hand right off. I was going to keep that in his hand, but I guess I will not bother with it. Let's put the Sequoia back in. I probably won't show the other weapons in his hand. It's pretty, basic. He can hold them all. Okay, you also get, again, you get some more guns. You get the brush rifle. I stopped one of the many lever action rifles in the game. Again, looks pretty good. Gunmetal for like the metal bits, and then the wooden parts are sculpted to look like wood, and then in brown, which I think looks pretty nice. Even though it is, lever, they did sculpt it to have a lot of room there for him to grip it, and you can actually get pretty decent poses with the with this gun. So that's actually really cool. Really like this. Again, leans into the gunslinger aesthetic. A gun that doesn't really, but is still cool, is you also get the marksman carbine, which is a lot more modern looking. Silver paint for the magazine there. Again, holds this pretty good. Looks good. I like this. You get the riot shotgun, which I think is a cool one to include. Drum mag, again, brown for the grip. The grips there looks pretty nice. And all of the guns except for the anti-material rifle are made of a pretty sturdy plastic. They're flexible, but not super flexible. The only gun that I had any warping issues with was the anti-material rifle, which is made of a solid plastic, which I guess makes sense. The long, thin barrel be prone to breaking more easier. And then the last gun you get is I think this is the 9mm submachine gun with a drum mag. Just cast in gray, but looks good. So yeah, pretty big plethora of weapons. I am pleased with the weapon selection. Yeah, I think before we give the final verdict here, just do some quick comparisons. Here he is with another Fallout figure I just reviewed, which is the Ghoul. And I think they scale pretty well together, look pretty well together. The Ranger is actually a little taller than him. And then here he is with the Elite Edition T60 Power Armor, which I think looks pretty good as well. So overall, I think this is a really cool figure. I mean, I'm giving it a lot of leeway because I've wanted a figure of this character for so long, and it's not terrible. I think it looks pretty good for the most part. It comes with a nice array of accessories. It can pose half decently well. It's too expensive. These Elite Edition figures are too expensive. The points just aren't worth it. They're so shitty, especially when you can't even redeem them because of the problems with the website that have existed for a while now. That's just so dumb. The paint, like coloring issues. The fact on this figure specifically, they reused legs that are not that great and don't make a whole lot of sense. Then they should have just done new leg sculpts. I don't know. Again, don't know why they didn't. They did new sculpts for literally everything else. That sort of stuff. And then the holster not functioning is really annoying as well. So when you have all of those factored up, it's really not worth the price, and I can only recommend it if you really want a figure of the Veteran Ranger. I know there's going to be a lot of people who do because this is just such a popular design. So this one's going to do well. Yeah, I would not pick it up unless you are a huge New Vegas fan and you really like the Veteran Rangers. For me, that is how I classify. So I do like it, and in that case, I do recommend it. Just be aware, it's expensive and there are issues. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.